Hello and welcome to another match here at the Summer Showdown first playoff match. My name's Alex. I'll be your play-by-play caster, and to help me break down all this exciting games, I'm here with Vert. Vert, how are we doing today?
I am doing great. This is a late night edition of our Summer Showdown bracket, but I couldn't be more excited. We've got our 6 seed going up against the 3 seed. It's been a really great round robin. Everything was super competitive, and though it is our 6 seed versus our 3 seed, one of Checkmate's losses came to Blackout in the round robin, Alex. So very super even across the board. Very excited matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been saying this basically since I think third day. Any of these teams can really take a win or take a loss off each other. It's going to be interesting to see what these two teams are going to throw out there, though.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just looking at our leaderboard currently, we've got Death Blossoms going 4-1 with that number 1 seed. So they got that first round bye. But what's really interesting after, Alex, is we have second, third, and fourth place all at 3-2. And the only thing that separates each team is a single map. So if that has been any indicator of how close this Summer Showdown has truly been, I mean, Solar Eclipse got that second seed and a first round bye because of one map differential. So been a super crazy matchup. Speaking of matchups, we do need to go ahead and shift our focus over to our matchup tonight. We've got Checkmate versus Blackout Eclipse. And because it is playoffs, it is a first 2-3 best of 5. So our map order is going to be Control, Escort, Flashpoint, Hybrid, and then we're closing it out with Push.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a look over to the hero bans just to get everyone back in the loop of things. Can't ban the same hero, cannot ban same role, and the coin flip chooses who can ban first. Loser of the map bans first.
Yes, and speaking of our coin flip, we are about to do it now. Checkmate is going to be heads and Blackout is going to be tails. So we are about to flip that coin in. It's heads. So the first map pick or ban is going to be going to to Checkmate, and I think this is for the first time ever. Checkmate, the first time winning a coin toss since the round robin has started. So I'm sure Ghost will be excited about that.
Yeah, Ghost is actually just lost for words, not expecting to win that coin flip. Got a question mark in the chat. So we'll see what they're going to do. If I was Checkmate, what would you take it?
So here's the thing, and we were talking about it a bit off stream. It seemed like during that first to 2 little bracket phase, during the round robin, teams had kind of figured out Checkmate. If you could just pick the control map, and if you could just beat Checkmate on the control map, just take the loss on Hollywood, then you could save the ban from map 3, just ban the ball and win. I mean, that's what Solar did. They almost came out with the win, and then every other team replicated that, and literally they gave Checkmate more losses because of it. So really interesting to see. Rat Milkers and Blackout both did it. So if I was Checkmate, I would take the map pick and I would go to a control map that is not Li Jiang Tower. They've been picking it, and I think it's their kryptonite because there's really only one map that you can force the ball on, and it's like the outdoor gardens one. Other than that, it's pretty hard. So I would pick a map that is not Li Zhang Tower.
Yeah, and talking about that, we do have that map, and it is Nepal. We haven't seen this all weekend, so you want to break that down for how that's going to work into Checkmate's play?
Yeah, so the only other time we saw Nepal was when I don't think you were casting it. I think it was Cuddle Puddle versus Solar. They picked Nepal and they ran some weird wonky comp and Solar just ran over it. But Ball does do a lot better on Nepal. You can still force the ram. There's a couple of points to do so. But there was a lot more angles to run that ball. Or who knows? They might run the hazard. They might decide to run the hazard. We'll have to see what Blackout decides to do with their bans because they only get to ban the ball once.
Yeah, that brings into question if you're not confident in your ball play on Nepal, why not just ban ball, get that out of the way so they don't have it against you, so you can take back the maps later.
That is true. I will say we haven't seen enough of protection bans coming out. I think the only team that's done a protection ban was Death Blossoms, and that's because they wanted to play the Queen comp. So I think we casted that game. They held on to the ban and we were questioning it, and then they banned Orisa on Surabasa, and it worked out for them very well because they got to run that Queen just and run Mayhem. So we're gonna be getting into the ban phase here in a second. I think you've seen a decent amount of Blackout. Cupid, Shoreline, those kind of guys. They're definitely going to want to run the brawl here, I would assume. They're going to want to force the brawl as much as they possibly can, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. We're such a brawl heavy meta right now. Nepal, you can run the brawl here. But the main thing you want to do with this brawl, though, is you got to look at this armor bug. This has been a
Yeah.
staple thing throughout the entire playoffs and brackets,
Mm-hmm.
play-ins.
Yeah.
That
The
that bug
armor's
is just defining.
uh yeah, that bug is crazy, and that's exactly why I think Blackout ended up going with the ban that they got. They did end up banning the Orisa, and they're probably going to want to stick the Ram. This makes sense. I think they're doing this because you mentioned that armor bug. Orisa's really good into Ramatra, but Ramatra's just really good right now because of the armor bug. So he's going to probably want to play that Ramatra. Shoreline's so good on it. I bet they probably figure if they can just outlive the ball on maybe a single point on Nepal, they can just force brawl on the other two, and they'll be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still waiting for Checkmate's ban, but since the horse is banned, what would you say you want to focus on? Because we know the Ram's going to come out from Blackout. This is a staple for this, and
Yeah.
I can't really see Hazard being played here. Maybe you see a Diva on some or certain maps, but I think Nepal is one of those maps you can play just like 2, 3 characters max.
Yeah. And you see the thing that I like about diamond tiers, even if it doesn't make any sense, even if it's not good, teams still run it anyway. So we could be analyzing, doing all of this, and it could just not matter. I think another thing we could probably see Pickle come out on the Queen. That's a hero that he's been running a decent amount. They ended up losing that mirror to Rat Milkers, but we could see it. We could see it come out. Maybe we see a Diva. He made some hints about it when he said that he out pizzaed the bot, referring to the Diva player for Cuddle Puddle Pizza Bot. So that could be a thing. I think if I had to put my money on it, and Pickle has a lot of tanks in his arsenal. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of abilities. It's just I think that the synergy between the DPS players of Blackout and the tank play of Shoreline will do wonders. If they force Diva, I don't think Blackout will have any problem against that. I think if you're Checkmate and you're expecting this Ram ban and you can't play at Rissa, you probably need to play the Diva back and low key just look to take multiple angles, dive around, and avoid the Ramatra at all costs. That being
Yeah,
said, sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
absolutely. No, absolutely. So we got the ban in. I was gonna say I'm gonna hold my tongue on Pickle's hero pool, but we do have Tracer coming out for Checkmate. I'm not in love with this one, especially on Nepal. This is a bit tighter map, so getting those flank angles are going to be a bit more difficult. So, what do you think of this Tracer band?
They just don't want to deal with the Cupid Tracer. I mean, you and I both saw what Cupid did to Nautilus on Surabasa map 3. I'm assuming that's what it's for. I agree with you that I don't love that ban, and the reason why is because you can only ban it once. Why ban it here? Why not ban the May? Leo Leopard could run the May and come out, and because he also plays that, he's the flex DPS player, and it makes more sense. Why not just ban like a cheesy character that teams could run here on Nepal? But they banned the Tracer. Maybe they want to run like a poke comp and they just don't want to deal with the dive. Um, Again, I just feel like if you're Checkmate, you're in the driver's seat, you have to win map 1 here. I feel like if you start from behind, those bans are going to catch up to you, so you got to be proactive. You got to win this map 1. I think what it's going to come down to, Alex, is which backline lives the longest. I'm pretty sure we've got Reese coming in for flex support today. I could be wrong, but Trico's been really good as well all week. I feel like whichever backline wins will prevail. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Wizard or Wiz coming here. I've heard a lot about this guy's Lucio play. On the side of Checkmate, I think it was Parasite or Trico. We're talking about that Lucio. We've seen the Lucio carry through basically a majority of these maps. But the Lucio is the main character I want to focus on. Which team would you say has the better Lucio out of these two?
Man, I just got told last night that there have been some complaints of some biased, so I don't know. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I think Parasite has slept on Lucio. I think I was talking about it in the podcast today that I wasn't overly impressed with his Lucio play, but I think it's just because he plays a very supportive role for the team. He doesn't go out of his way to make crazy plays, and honestly, as a former Lucio player, that's the best thing I think you could do. Just live, support your team, and then the plays will naturally come. If I had to put my money on it, though, I think I'd have to go with Wizard. I saw what they could do at main support the other days that they were playing with Blackout. I think he's just very proactive. I think he has a lot of answers for a lot of situations. So if it comes down to Lucio, I got to go with Blackout.
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to head into Nepal, just waiting for teams to pick their hero lineup, and then we'll talk about that a bit more. Heading into Temple, this is a bit closer of a map. There's a lot of very closed off sight lines, very one lane here. What are you looking to, if you're these teams, to do first?
Well, I think they're going to tell us. I don't think Pickle's going to play the Doom. I think it'd be interesting if he did. I actually do think Shoreline, I don't think I've ever seen him play Malga in my life. He's probably going to go the Ram as I see the May come out here. We've got a Freya Genji on the side of Checkmate, as well as the Parasite on Lucio. Yeah, Pickle's going to go Ram here. And if you're Checkmate, I hope something's improved recently with your Ramatra comp, because last weekend it wasn't the greatest. But only time will tell as we get into this first round of our first playoff game of the Summer Showdown Series.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing two drastically different versions of this comp. It's mainly the DPS we're going to be looking at here. That Freya has the chip damage as we're having a normal poke out phase here, trying to get control of that mega health pack on the left side here. Pickle, however, is cut off from most of his support. Thankfully, Kiri can wall climb, gets over that a bit. However, we see a flanking Lucio Parasite. Now my name's Jeff. Right now, Blackout's in a pinch. However, Wiz gets Pickle with the boop. That's going to be hard to do. Cupid is found out by Ghostly here. There's a battle for the point. Wiz gets another one, gets Trico, and it looks like Blackout's going to have sustain on this point. However, Shoreline is going down. Luckily has that form. Wiz is going to be the next one going down here. No, my name just finds Leo Leopard here. That's forcing Blackout off this point. Something of a turnaround there. Checkmate. Going to get the point capture.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be back soon. Ghostly, new DPS pickup for Checkmate coming in recently, so this is his debut, and he's absolutely crushing it. Cuba's going to swap over to the Soj, not really feeling the cast into the Freya. We're already going to have Freya ult up. We're going to have to see what they do with it.
Yeah, Freya ult, basically a cooldown most points, build that up so fast, but it is deadly if it connects. Talking about which, we got to look at this Parasite Jeff backline right now. Again, this hit squad is back there. However, Blackout does get the point pressure here. Cupid finding No My Name Jeff. Pickle does, however, trade that out for Leopard here. Right now, Pickle in a dangerous situation. No arms, no nothing here. However, a ball is good for two. However, a beautiful cleanse comes out by SkyJ, keeping his team in this. Another boot by Wizard onto Pickle. That's a huge play.
Yeah, he's just proven to be the difference maker for Blackout in the series so far. I just feel like right now, Blackout is just not playing as a team. They're split. They're a little lost. Cupid getting picked by Ghostly again. This is going to be an interesting matchup to watch all series. We're going to have to see what we're going to do. Oh, we had a double DC. That is interesting. That is bad. That is bad for the side of Blackout. You're going to lose that Mail. You're going to lose that Soch progress. A double DC in the big 2-5, Alex.
Yeah, you hate to see it, but it happens. Players, this is something you're doing with these online tournaments. But those ults are great and all. But in my opinion, I'd rather keep this progress to the Annihilation and the 2 support ults right now Blackout has. Right now, that puts them... Oh,
could definitely be a difference maker as Pickle is behind from Shoreline. I believe Shoreline's at 81%, 91%, something like that. But yeah, I mean, they have the advantage on the Kiriko and the beat. They gotta probably look to maybe play quick with it, so that way they can get those DPS ults back up and running. The thing is, though, is they're gonna start this fight down maybe 3 if Wiz goes back to speed him. So, I mean, if you're Blackout, you gotta back up and then maybe look to come back in with Kitsune.
Yeah, absolutely right there. It's gonna be an interesting retake because Know My Name Jeff has that blade Pickle. I think in mid-fight you're going to see that Annihilation pop come in from him as we see both teams are getting back into the lobby.
Yeah, looks like they're getting back in the lobby and we got the R's, and it looks like we're going to keep the space that we have. Leo Leopard coming back. Yeah, Checkmate's just going to come in quick knowing that they're up too. That's a good play by them.
It's a great play by them. However, Shoreline feels like he can sustain now that his team's somewhat back. Has that pop piece for him yet. Super low. Kitsune coming in from both teams. However, you got to question Trico's. That's going nowhere except for the Void. Right now, both teams are coming up. Beat is here. Blade from Know My Name Jeff, followed by a beat from Parasite. Annihilation also popped by Pickle. Checkmate is investing heavily into this fight. However, Shoreline does pop the Annihilation. Cupid finding Know My Name Jeff, and right back at it. Blackout here to...
They do have the numbers advantage, but Wiz going down could be very bad. Big pick from Cupid to take down Trico. This fight is all over the place. Especially because they just won't walk away from Pickle. They're just keeping his Annihilation up for him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's all she wrote for Blackout's attack. That was basically every ult that we said was going to come up. The only people who didn't pop an ult there was Leopard and Cupid, but that's because they DC'd.
Yes, they did in fact DC. We're coming up on double DPS ults.
Yeah, we're going to see these two teams egress. Looks like Blackout wants control of this point, Mega Health Pack. However, we see a slight split in Blackout there. Covered quickly. Know My Name is Jeff. Found out by Cupid, talking about which gets Pickle here without a tank. This is going to be a hard point to retake unless someone can come up big. Trico going down. Cupid finding a 3rd in this fight. 4 in this fight. Cupid coming alive.
Oh, he was fiending for the 5K, but he made the good choice to not go in. Ghostly, I mean, I feel like we can't talk enough about this guy. Even in fights that Checkmate's losing, he's consistently getting picks. However, we do have ults coming up quicker on the side of Blackout than we do Checkmate right.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're coming into 80% and counting here. You got to start seeing if you can draw out some of these ults. Get an early pick, honestly. Talking about which, there's the early pick. However, Wizard again dunks on Pickle, throws him into the pit. Here comes the OC by Cupid, putting Jeff down for a 2nd time, having the blade out. 96 in count. However, Ghostly does get Cupid here. It's DPS talking about which, another Ram is in the hole. Parasite finally gets Shoreline here, and it looks like Checkmate is going to get this point back.
Not sure why we swapped onto the Sombra. I don't think we need to. It's because Pickle went ball for touch. So we do have a couple of ultimates coming up here that are very vital to success here. We're just going to have to see how the teams decide to trade them.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to look out for Ghostly's Bolo. Hit 2, but it was cleansed. However, Parasite does have this beat. It's going to be probably countered by SkyJ's Kitsune. Here it is. Bolo going wide. Shoreline does find Parasite though, so he does not have to worry about going into the pit, except for this ball. Talk about which, here comes the blade from Leopard. Know My Name Jeff finding SkyJ. That's a critical amount of healing. Shoreline finds Trico, and Blackout is going to take the first map.
Yes, but barely, and as many great plays as Checkmate made, I feel like they got kind of bailed out of their mistakes by Wizard hitting a couple of big boops, Cupid hitting a shot or two. They definitely did not seem as polished as they did the first go around. And if you're Checkmate, you have to punish that. Ghostly hitting a lot of shots, very impactful, but your supports have to stay alive long enough for that to be meaningful in a fight. If they're not, you just kind of fall over.
Yeah,
I don't want to see
absolutely.
Cupid stay on Sombra. Get off the Sombra low, bro. Go cast.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an overcompensation for a ball that we know is going to come out. Pickle. If you were Blackout, you would have trained for this, or you would have scrimmed for this, knowing that Pickle has that covered on the ball.
Yes, of course, and we're gonna see Cupid stay on the Soch here, which I'm okay with. Give a little sim TP out for your team. Now, this is the map where Checkmate's comp will do the best. Look how many angles there are with the Pharah, with the Freya, with the ball. I mean, this is gonna be annoying for Blackout to deal with. If you're Blackout and you're on this ram, you want to brawl, Checkmate wants to take multiple angles. This is the best chance for you to do this. If you're Blackout, you need to find a target, you need to get on him, and you need to hope that you can kill him before the spam just is too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Point is going to unlock right now. Blackout having the presence here. And the point flipped here. Looks like Shoreline wants to go out for Ghost Leap. It's not going to find anything. We go deep. Trico finds Cupid a few good sooner. Talking about which, Trico does take 2 ahead. Looking for that third here. Looking for Wiz here, but Wiz is going after Parasite with that assassination duo of Leopard. However, no, my name is Jeff is not having any of that.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's still a... What was that? I mean, we love to see the Lucio play, but I mean, where was the support from Checkmate? That's interesting. So that's going to be a big pick coming into this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Shoreline either swap to the Diva to try to deal with this Pharah, or maybe just hoping Cupid to hit some shots, but I mean, big slow on Pickle. Already low.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a beautiful vortex by Shoreline. All 4 looking at it, talking about no one's looking at Cupid. Where's the support there? As No My Name Jeff and Pickle come in for the assassination. Wizard getting hunted down by this far, and Ball, however, very much still healthy here. SkyJ going down super low. Everyone from Checkmate is rather hardy. You see this Ghostly here in the backline. SkyJ eventually deals with it. Shoreline gets Parasite. Talking about which, Cupid finds My Name Jeff out, and Trico goes down. Looks like Blackout's going to get their first foot into the door.
So I don't love the cast swap because you're just now more diveable, but if you're Cupid, what's the solution? You win Soj, they dove you anyway. You win cast, they dove you anyway. You can't go Sombra because it's just not going to be useful into the Pharah. So, the cast swap is going to hit more shots consistently, but somehow that fight, Blackout was able to sustain the amount of damage that was coming out. And because of that, they had cooldowns available remaining to go in and get those kills. We'll have to see how these ultimates are traded. As an early pick on a Ghostly, man, gotta check your corners.
Yeah, you were talking about that. Those early picks can be fatal. Talking about which, just seems like a second ago, Blackout got the point there at almost 60% as Wizard gets gets Parasite in the Lucio 1v1.
Yeah, Wizard running numbers right now on this lobby, and he's just running all over. I mean, he's literally being a wizard. The reason they're up to 60% is because first fight, they did cap for free, and Checkmate did not stop them. That is a compensation that you get with this comp, but you are coming up with 5 ults. You got to make your move.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about which, here comes Justice and some mines, some explosiveness. Only finds 1. Beat is thrown in. It's only good for 2 here. Wizard does get No My Name Jeff. And that's all she wrote for that fight. However, if you're Blackout, you take that.
You take that because you got it up to 86%. You have 5 ultimates coming up on the board, and Checkmate used 4 of them. Also, somehow, Wizard flew across the skybox and killed the Pharah. This is Junk's wild. That's Suzu already. We're going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about which Ghost finds Cupid. However, Leapflow finds Parasite. A Kitsune is out. Shoreline finds Trico. There is no healing on the side of Checkmate. Blackout throws a beat to try to finish this up. Shoreline finds Jeff. And it looks like Ghost is Ghost is back from spawn. However, it's now just Pickle left live. 81% to 86 right now in favor of Blackout.
Yeah, and they did hold on to a lot of ults, and Wizard's going to look to try to deny this touch by the ball. I don't think he's going to be able to deny to touch, but it was a nice try. We do have a high noon coming up with but a big pick into Parasite.
Yeah, big pick in Parasite and a pretty early Kitsune by Trico. Talking about which Cupid puts a high noon, dead eyes into Trico, puts him down. Here comes the annihilation as Pickle goes down. Only person left on the board is Ghostly, and it looks like Blackout is going to take this.
Blackout's gonna take it, and if you're Checkmate, that was your map pick, so that got to sting a little bit, but it's not impossible. We did see glimpses of success. We did see flashes of brilliance with Parasite getting some kills. Again, it came down to the backline. I felt like, because Cupid was dying a good amount, and they were still winning fights. Leo was getting picked, still winning fights. When it came down to it, to the nitty gritty, when everything was on the line and it mattered, the support line for Blackout showed up the most and just lived longer. It felt like you and I were always saying Parasite or was getting picked after pick after pick. When you're Lucio, you gotta live and you gotta stay grounded. But again, Checkmate, you're not out of this yet. It's first map. Control's your worst for the kind of composition you wanna play. I would assume if we're going to escort, we're gonna see a very divey escort map. And I think there are ways of success. They are not out of the series by any means, and I still think any team could take this. But very good map from Blackout. A couple mistakes on that first map. We'll chalk it up to nerves. They looked a lot more polished on that second one, especially Shoreline.
Yeah, talking about that diver map, we see Hollywood is going to be the next map they want.
It can't. We're going escort.
We can't.
Well, I mean, I guess they could. It's looking like I'm pretty sure I sent them the map order. Hybrid's supposed to be 4th, but you know what? Hold on.
Pause champ as we figure that out.
Escort. Did I? I'm pretty sure I sent it. Is it in the rules? Let me double check. I'm always wrong. You'll have to forgive me. Let me check the rules. GG's. Yeah, it's escort. You know what? I'm going to do this. Well, they're going to pick LOL, yeah. There was a little mishap there. They're going to an escort map likely. But we're going to have to see what happens there. What map, if you want to run the ball comp, if you want to run a dive comp, if you want to run a hazard, what escort map would you take them to?
I'm going to show my age here. I don't really remember any of the escort maps. I got that Alzheimer's hitting hard.
Alzheimer's is crazy. Alzheimer's diff over here. I didn't know I was working with an Ankh. Jesus. I'm playing. I'll fill in the blanks then. I think Rialto's a decent dive map. It's got a lot of poke. And, I trust Strider to do better in the hit scan duel versus Cupid if I were Checkmate. Cupid's a really talented player, don't get me wrong. But Strider, we saw what he can do on Hollywood. That guy just takes over lobbies, bro. So Rialto's a good map for that. Could also go Shimbali. That's a sneaky ball map. Low key, there are angles. It is possible. And you could run the hazard a decent amount. And then there's Route 66. That's always a good one. As I say that, none of the suggestions I said were picked, Alex. We're going to go to Circuit.
Yeah, I appreciate you getting this old man's brain going again, but now that I have the juices back, I actually do not like this if you're Checkmate.
Yeah. Well, how come? Is it because of the sight lines? What's the?
This is a very just sightline heavy map, like you said. There's not too much area to ball, unless Checkmate has a Sig, or can really lock in that Ramatra. This just doesn't play into their strength. You got Strider. They've been an electric hit scan, but it looks like they want to go with Ghostly right now. We're still waiting on things to get things. We do, however, get the Widow ban. But again, just not a fan of this pick.
Yeah, I feel like, there's probably a strategy that they have. Pickle on the Sig isn't bad at all. I think his Sig is actually quite good. One of his better tanks. So at that point, you probably just have to hope on your hit scans to hit shots. But it's going to be hard to do that when Blackout bans the Widow. They know exactly what Checkmate's probably hoping to do. They also just know that this is a good Widow map. So they're going to go ahead and ban the Widow. We're going to see what we decide to ban on the side of Checkmate. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Diva ban maybe. Because it's going to be hard to run the Ram here, kind of. There's a lot of sight lines, so Ram could get easily poked out. It's going to be really hard to rotate as a Ram comp. So I think it'll be hard for Shoreline to run the Ramatra. So I wouldn't be surprised if they banned that Diva, his second best tank, to go ahead and force him on that Ram or that Sigmir.
Yeah, not in love with the Sig anymore on this map. That's a very one-note character when Circuit Royale first released, but now that this map's been out for a little while, you
Yeah.
could do that Ramatra, but we've also seen in OWCS and EWC, we've seen the Diva, and that's becoming more
Mhm.
and more prevalent here. You can cover those
It
angles,
is.
cover that sight line with a defense matrix, so really got to see what these two teams are going to pull out.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get an OWCS playoff comp, and maybe the Diva is banned, and then Blackout decides to run the Sim Ram, or maybe the Ram's banned and they decide to run the Sim Diva. Because I couldn't believe that was a comp until I saw it live. I thought it was crazy, but it makes sense, especially because it's long sight lines. You can just use TP to go and clear them. This is an interesting one. I am confuzzled by this one, Alex. They
This one
banned
definitely
Juno.
slows the game down. The Juno ban, you don't have that speed ring, and you're not going to really play Lucio. Everyone's looking down one main angle. Juno has a bit more sustain compared to
Than the
Lucio.
Lucio, right? Okay, that makes more
So,
sense. So, and you know what? If I'm holy cow, if I'm checkmate, I'd probably look to probably slow the game down too, especially after that first map. We are going to see some substitutions coming in. We're going to have Nar come in for Leo on the side of Blackout. Nar, really good Hanzo player, really electric Hanzo player, and this is a good map for Hanzo.
yeah, absolutely. You get that Widow ban in, and, what's the other character that can one shot? That's Hanzo.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, can't have Widow. You're going to try to force that Hanzo mirror potentially on the side of Blackout. Try to force that Hanzo mirror. Gonna see if the teams are ready here in just a moment, waiting to get the R's from both of them respectively. Um, Now something that was interesting, the Widow did come out on the ban, and Blackout chose to attack first. Now this is something that I like if you're feeling confident after you win that first map. Just go ahead and roll them over, try to stop any momentum, and just go crazy. Or there's another philosophy: if you're on defense, just slow them down, destroy their mental, full hold, and then go attack. But when I was playing on a team and we got to choose attack or defense, if we won that last map, I always liked to attack first. Set the pace, keep setting it, keep running it over. Um, Probably going to see some Brigana come out. I trust that Reese is probably going to come in if we're going to see that Brig. And Reese's Brig, don't get me wrong, is really good. Like, really good. Like, if I had to choose a Brig if I had to choose a team based off Brig, I would choose Checkmate. Assuming Reese is coming in. No clue if they are yet or not as we load into this map to figure out what the heck we're going to be doing here, Alex. And it looks like Reese Cub did come in for Trico. So we have a double flex comp on the side of Checkmate. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. This map is double flex Haven. You can play the Yolari. Zen was really powerful back when we had Sigma comp here, and still can burn through Ram even with that armor bug. So, not too
Right.
surprised here.
Right, yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Sig comp with a Zen. Yeah, as I said, tier 3, you could run just about anything and see success with it. Oh, there are going to be better options, obviously, but we're not going to be seeing those options because we're going to have the Ash Freya Sig on a Zen. Now, this is interesting, but I see what they're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking for that one shot. You're looking for just something to explode. And right now, the only thing I'm looking on Blackout side that's really explodable is either the Kiriko or the Hanzo of Nar here. The rest of Blackout really mobile, and Diva. It's gonna take a lot to really chew her through her.
Yeah, and I love the Hanzo pick. You can just spam Sig Shield. Oh my gosh. A second DC from Blackout? Maybe it's a buff. Maybe they DC and they come back and they're just cracked. I don't know.
They're doing this on purpose, of
They're
course,
doing
getting
it
that
on purpose.
buff cooldown. No, but we have Nar with some hardware issues. But looking into these comps, we see the Ana Zen here. However, Blackout going with that Lucio, going that Curie Diva Tracer,
Mhm.
gotta be worried about this backline of Checkmate. Really
Yeah.
diveable targets, and they don't have a lot of movement to get away if Blackout gets on top of them.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. The rotations from Blackout are going to be crucial to win this. You're going to have to be able to out rotate the poke damage. If you're checkmate, you just want to keep them at a distance, use your cooldowns effectively, and just make sure that you're constantly poking them out of the game and not making forcing those cooldowns, not making them be able to play. It's if they do that successfully, it's going to force Blackout to respond. Otherwise, Blackout is going to have to. Otherwise, Checkmate's going to have to just outlive the dive potential from Blackout right now.
Yeah, absolutely. My only question mark is if you're gonna run this very heavy, try to get up in their face, try to collapse in on them. Gnar is kind of the outlier here going onto this Hanzo.
Yeah, and I think it's just because he could run the Genji and you could full dive, but you still want to have that one shot potential. It's a lot easier to dive on a target, like say if the Zen is dead, then you can't get discord on your way in, right? It'll keep Strider at bay in a sense potentially. Hitscan Strider should always have that upper hand versus Gnar on the projectile, but could hit some shots. Who knows? We are just waiting for Gnar to get back in. Have to see. Oh, looks like he is back, and we're going to be going in right now, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Pickle going to set up close here. That could be detrimental depending on how Blackout wants to play that. So of course, you got the Hanzo Sonic Arrow. That's going to scout him out. Going to throw Pickle back up just a little bit here as Blackout round this corner.
And we're already going to see the we're already going to see the strats. He's just looking to poke, get some pick, and I mean that's exactly what I was talking about. Once you get a pick, you can go in.
Yeah, absolutely. That Zen, doesn't do a lot of healing, but that's a lot of the explosibility here. Talking about which Pickle is getting pressured. You see 3 players on top of him. Now, Shoreline's going to go deep, going to try to find the free HUD. Not going to find it. Cupid looking for it too. A beautiful nade onto it.
Huge nade.
That's going to keep Reese Cub and Strider alive, and it looks like Shoreline is in danger of being hard staggered here. The mech is down. Good thing there's an edge there. Shoreline's just going to reset quickly.
Right. And I mean, Reese, a previous CGL 2-time Roll Star in support, and that's what Roll Star's got to do in these games. We've seen a lot of tier lists, we've seen a lot of game changers. Reese has been up in the game changer category sometimes in some lists. You got to be able to make big plays when it matters. Your team's down 2, they go to look to dive. The ante just way too good, takes them out.
Yeah, absolutely. The discipline just to hold on to that until it is absolutely needed was incredible by Reese Cub, and then finding the value onto the Tracer, really blunting that spear. Talking about which Shoreline's going to take this high ground clear of the DPS. But Pickle, however, finds Gnar. And like I said, that's going to be the one person who's going to get left behind. However, Pickle in deep right now. 4 people looking at Blackout right now. Pickle, however, finds Wiz in it, and that's going to help their defense significantly.
Yeah, I don't know if Gnar just didn't see the Sigma that was right next to him, or if he just decided to go past him, but you gotta check your corners. You gotta make sure you don't get killed. Ult economies are very healthy right now. We're gonna see Shoreline swap over to the Ram, deciding that the Sig is just too big of a presence on the cart.
Yeah, absolutely. The Sig too big a presence and not finding that follow-up into that backline once he cleared the high ground. So right now, it's going to be a change of pace that Checkmate got to look at here. Sigma very doughy. Well, talking about which, here comes a Flux beat by Blackout. However, a lot of damage with that Bob. Wizards found out Trico is, however, there is no supports on the side of Checkmate as Reese Cub and Trico go down.
Very scrappy fight, but it looks like Blackout, if they can live and can hold on, should be able to hold on to it. Cupid getting 2-tapped. I mean, like I said, Strider is just a game changer. Let's come in on the side of SkyJ.
Yeah, we see the Kitsune Rush trying to just take this corner. Cupid does find Strider at the end of the day. However, both supports are now back for Checkmate here. Dragon, I do not see where that was going. Well, we have a Trank forced, I guess, by Trico here. Shoreline does get Pickle, so that's going to be the tank presence gone, and I don't think Checkmate's going to touch this cart.
I wouldn't be surprised if they sent like the Freya in with maybe Nano, but it is look like they're retreating. Probably a safe play. You just want to keep space, get back for your tank. We're already seeing the two different playstyles collide. Checkmate having some success with keeping the front line of Blackout at bay, but they can't keep their back line up. And I'd be more curious to see like more of. I mean, again, Trico's just dead. I'd be more interested if we're wanting to run the Zenyatta. Maybe we need to run like a Brig or a BAP instead, if that's our game plan.
Yeah, right now you're not going to find too much value on Trico's Zen. Always getting exploded for sure. Gnar does find this random pick, but you got to start questioning the Ana Zen backline. Maybe switch it up to like the Baptiste or the Illari if you really want that damage output.
Agreed. And we're going to see Shredder swap over to the Soj. I like this pick. It's more mobile. You can get away from the Tracer easily. You can still do the same amount of damage, but Gnar, I mean, it feels like Trico just hasn't been alive all series, Alex.
Yeah, right now Trico leading the way of deaths here with 4 of them. Pickle is in a dangerous situation, asking for that nano. Cupid does find Strider. Shoreline finds Ghostly. Pickle still very much alive, but surrounded by 5. I don't think he's going to be alive for much longer, and it looks like Blackout's going to take this second point quite easily.
Yeah, and I mean, this should be the unfortunately, this should be the easiest point for Blackout to force the comp that they want to run. It's more brawly. There's less, like range. It's more tight corridors. But we're going to see Pickle swap over to the Ram, Trico go over to the Kiriko. The crucial thing you're missing with this Ram comp, Checkmate, is a Lucio. They took their Lucio player out, so they can't run it, and they banned the Juno. Could their bans come back to bite them? We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but we'd also have to see their supports stay alive as Trico eats a railgun, almost going down to half here. Very dangerous situation. Ghostly does find out Wiz. Here comes the Dragon, not going to do too much here. Strider does find Shoreline eventually. We gotta start talking about this double hit scan line here by Checkmate. Very interesting. You don't see that too often, especially in competitive. As we're looking to see who gets burnt down next, Strider does find Gnar at the end of this exchange.
You don't see it often, but it does have its perks. It just like consistently pours damage into the tank of Blackout. If Shoreline doesn't have armor, he's just gonna die because of the consistent damage that Strider and Ghostly are putting out. And I think that's gonna be the key to success here if you Checkmate. You gotta keep getting these picks. You can't get picked. You gotta get picks. You can't get picked.
Yeah, talking about which Suzu was forced, and Trico goes down again first. You guys wonder if he had the TP up or still on cooldown. Getting found out like that. Go ahead.
It's going to be hard for the Kiriko to get out without any speed here. We're starting to see the cracks in Checkmate's armor when it comes to strats, and Skyjace is going to run it down with his Kiriko.
Yeah, absolutely. Shoreline getting that bonus from the Kitsune Rush. Still is holding that Annihilation as Gnar Cub. That's another support pick first here. Pickle in a dangerous situation. Getting a lot of pressure down. The Suzu is out for Checkmate as the car is coming closer and closer. Ghostly finally finding a pick first here for his team. Cupid going down. Pickle gonna press W on the Annihilation. Almost finding Gnar, however, that's gonna be all she wrote for that Annihilation.
Yeah, and Blackout does not want to back out quite yet. They want to hold on to the ground that they have, knowing that they're just down their Tracer. They are coming up on a lot of crucial ults here compared to Checkmate. As Frederick ended up using the railgun that fight. I hadn't even noticed completely. But Ghostly and this Kiriko ult could be huge if they use it right, but I have to imagine that Blackout's just going to go. Is that a DC? Yeah. He might have been DCing.
That would be unfortunate if it does, because right now their team is falling apart. That's going to be 2 picks here without the DPS. Reese Club and Trico are going to be the only one left. Wizard does find Pickle here, and we're touching the spawn doors. We're trying to get as much progress as we can right now. Blackout still with all. Dragon's going to prevent that. Does find Trico. That is a tragic miss. However, Ghostly does have the high noon, but it's not going to matter. Blackout cap it out.
He got 3 though. He got 3 though.
He got 3 at the end of the day.
I wonder if Strider's keyboard or mouse or something died and they didn't call for a pause. We're seeing a bit of a question mark from Blackout in there. Not really sure what's happening there. Just feels like they're having a hard time slowing down what Blackout's really wanting to do.
Yeah, main thing if your Checkmate is you gotta have your support line be alive longer than they are. You know, Trico getting picked a lot of the times. Reese Cub had its moments, but also going down first, you can't really win a fight if you're low HP all the time and you only got one support helping you.
Yeah, and we're gonna see Blackout Eclipse running the exact same comp. I mean, it ain't broke. I mean, don't fix it, right? So that is gonna be what they're running. We questioned the Hanzo. I just didn't feel like they punished him enough. I mean, he was sitting pretty much alone away from Wizard for a good amount of time that map, and they just didn't collapse onto him. Um, I'd honestly like to see Pickle like play the ball here. Go fast, set the tempo, set the pace. But it just feels like without their Lucio player, and they just feel like hesitant to do that.
Yeah, absolutely hesitation indeed. But talk
Oh my
about
God.
these first picks, you haven't even around the corner, and Strider's already dead to Gnar.
Yeah, I want to see the final blows count right now because I feel like Gnar is just going nuts. Ghost even recognizing how good he's playing and saying kaboom in match chat. Strider probably feeling a little offended after getting just killed around the corner, deciding to match that Hanzo, and I actually think that's a good pick. But he's on his way out. Someone check this guy's PC. Can we check it? Can we get a check on his PC, please? Holy cow.
Yeah, right now Pickle taking the high ground, but Blackout not caring too much about that as Shoreline is doing a great job holding the rest of Checkmate's back. However, he's going down low now. Finally gets punished. And it looks like Checkmate's going to finally start making some progress. As I say that, Reese Cup is found out by Q here. Strider eventually puts the Menace in the back line down.
Yeah, Menace in the back line is a good way to put it. Strider finding a couple of picks on that Hanzo. I think if he just gets going, because again, I've seen Strider take over lobbies. I think if he just gets going, he's going to be able to find some success. But Pickle, you got to manage these cooldowns. You got to be able to live, and you just got to take some time against this backline. You got to play slower. You got to react, not be first. You got to react.
Yeah, absolutely. The Suzu is used. Strider down low, talking about which Wizard comes out of nowhere, but Gnar from the back gets the shots in. Here comes the Dragon Strike. That's going to cut Pickle off. He's going to take a bit of damage, but again, that armor just so strong in this patch. Here comes the Kitsune Rush. Trico and Checkmate want to take this fight back here. Talking about which Gnar is too slow to rotate here.
I mean, it's still a very scrappy fight right now, but it looks like, what a pick on the side of Trico. Just such talent, and that's what I'm saying. This is what's confusing. Checkmate has talent. They have great, amazing players. They're just feeling very lost as what they want to do as a team. They're going to kill Shoreline here, right? Surely he doesn't live. Yeah, hopefully he gets picked. But it looks like Blackout, SkyJ went in and committed to that. They committed to a losing fight. I mean, I guess you forced the Dragon out of Strider, so you get something for it.
Yeah, absolutely. SkyJ did go in, but you gotta question that Dragon. You're winning that fight. Sure, SkyJ did come in, but at that point, it was just a bit too far gone for Blackout to come back in here. But talking about which, you can't sleep on Gnar and getting these first picks, as Blackout is gonna start setting up for their second point defense.
Yeah, and since Shoreline died so late, they're gonna be able to push up real high. But he is back, and they are looking to press the issue here.
Yeah, they're looking to pressure the issue. Skyday does find Trico, so that's going to be the first pick. Actually, Reese Cup goes down again. That means Checkmate does not have a single support. Gnar does find Ghostly, so Pickle, with that Nano and Annihilation up, cannot find the value they're looking for. Shoreline pops that Annihilation, gets it at the end.
Did have an even trade across the board. We got the Nano Annihilation for the Annihilation Kirka ult. Cupid and Gnar coming up, literally exactly tied an ult charge, which is kind of funny. But we do have an ult advantage. I mean, I can't even. There's nothing to analyze. There's nothing to analyze, Alex. Yeah. We're just getting picks.
We can glaze all you want. I mean, it's just Gnar finding those first picks that stops Checkmate from advancing. You gotta wait for that respawner to come back. Luckily, it is the Sojourn, so it's gonna be a bit faster. But Gnar's just been electric here.
Yeah, Gnar has been on fire this map. We see why we put him in. Known for his Hanzo play. Checkmate has to slow it down, and they have to watch the corners. But he has Dragon again, and he's probably going to look to separate it as they go in with B. What a pick.
Yeah, Gnar finds Reese Club. Blackout wants to go fast here. You saw that beat coming in. Here comes Ghostly with an OC, trying to get any value on his team here. Gnar finds Strider here, but SkyJ finds Ghostly, and that's going to end the OC. Pickle going to die slowly.
Pickle's going to dies slowly, and Checkmate, you're still not out of this. You still got 2.5 minutes. This is an interesting swap. We're going over to the Sombra, probably to try to exploit the Hanzo, catch him out while he's rotating. I actually don't mind that pick at all. Is there another DC? I swear to God. What is going on with the Overwatch servers?
Yeah, small indie dev, by the way, as we're gonna get everyone.
What is happening? Piccolo's having issues. Okay, ping issues across the board. You know, we saw Cupid and Leo DC last map. We saw Nara DC last map. Seeing sorry, I just lost my thought. Seeing Pickle have issues here. Just letting us know. So I guess it was a manual pause. I guess Pickle called for it in comms. Probably at the time being, but I mean, what are you seeing outside of like the picks? What if you're Checkmate? How do you get back into this game?
That's a tough question because it is just those picks. As much as you want to egress or you want to use that, you really can't if the person with the ult gets picked off first. It's a lot of things going wrong. Maybe you throw a shield up by Gnar, but then again, that's a resource used that you're not going to have for that shoreline fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard, especially because Gnar's definitely feeling himself this map. It's hard to slow down a DPS with momentum. That is definitely something that's difficult to slow down. I mean, I know from experience, it's difficult.
We've been harping on the support line. Maybe the DPS line for Checkmate needs to start coming alive.
Yeah, I agree. I mean. You go ahead.
Yeah, we're going over the Sombra. He said they're trying to at least disrupt Gnar here. Just try to do anything. Right now, it's DPS line's kind of quiet except for some winning fights here. So I'm not in love with the Sombra. Maybe you go to a Genji, try to get up in their face, try to prevent those angles from being taken. Because right now, it's just free.
I agree. Yeah, I think if anything, you just need to commit to some sort of dive comp or rush comp and just run it down on Gnar. I mean, I know you limited yourself because you took the Juno out, but I've seen Reese Cub on the Lucio, and she's not a bad Lucio. I mean, for what you want to do, get up in the Hanzo's face, I mean, just do it. I mean, you got to get up there. So I absolutely am in agreement with you. And, Checkmate's DPS line needs to come alive. I agree. But DPS can be very momentum based at some point. I don't know if you can relate to that. I certainly can. If you're not hitting shots to begin with, you just convince yourself you can't hit anymore. But once you hit one or two, you start to get back into it, and that's where Gnar is right now. He just believes he's not going to miss a single shot at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Very momentum-based characters. But in a tournament like this, you just need everyone to lock in. This is a single elimination bracket here. So we're going to see how this Sombra sets up, looking to throw that hack onto Shoreline here. Pickle stepping forward, going to throw Gnar back just a little bit. But look at the damage Pickle has taken. Talking about which, Shoreline is also on the receiving end here. 1 HP in a dream. Talking about which, Gnar goes down. Strider with the high noon find the Wizard. And, there's the DPS line coming alive for Checkmate.
Indeed, and I don't think you're going to get another touch here if you're Blackout. You also don't have any ults coming up, so now there is a pathway to victory here if you are on the side of Checkmate, because you're going to get this cap for free. Nope, Cupid decides to touch, and he gets hack stunned on cooldown. That is rough.
Yeah, talking about rough, though, Trico is found out. The Annihilation Pot by Pickle is going to hunt the support line down. Does get Sky J. Reese Cub also looking pretty dangerous, but gets Shoreline at the end. Wizard's trying to run away, but Pickle does find it. So these are some good trades going the way of Checkmate.
You have to wonder if this is a little too ambitious on the side of Checkmate. You invested the Cure Cold, you invested the Annihilation, you invested the High Noon. We're going to see Cupid match the cast. I like that, especially up against the Sombra. But now there's no ultimates coming up on the side of Checkmate. We did see Reese Cub swap to the Lucio, so I am supportive of that. You can run it if you need to. Wizard is going to have the beat of his life versus Ghostly's EMP here, as we see both teams try to set up a high ground.
Yeah, right now Reese Cup Pickle trying to get this high ground away from Trico. We know he's been deadly. But Wizard, also, we got to watch out. This guy has booped so many people off the map, but that's not gonna matter when Pickle is punching metal here.
Punching metal indeed, but the Lucio on the side of Checkmate could have died, but got caught out by Strider. Good follow up there to support your teammate. Nar, you cannot die here. You gotta, he's gonna die. He's gonna die.
Yeah, Nar going down, and this is a lot of progress Checkmate's gaining by these simple mistakes of Blackout. However, you gotta talk about this. 4 ults on the side of Blackout, and only Reese Cub and that Somber coming up on.
Yes, but it doesn't feel like Blackout's had a complete fight since point B. It just feels like they're so scattered, and Shoreline having to pop the ult just to live. He is going to get the pick off the Reese Cup, though.
Yeah, Ajax? Strider, and we have an Ajax from Reese Club that is tragic. Wizard actually not popping that beat, so they still have it in the bank. Cupid also with that high noon. The only one on the side, Checkmate, Pickle, and Strider now.
The EMP too? I didn't even realize they EMP'd. This is a really bad fight on the side of Checkmate. You're going to be coming in on a rushed fight with Kitsune maybe coming up later, but you only have Annihilation and Beat to bank on, but you've got the Beat and the Cupid Han Noon to work with as well. There is technically an ult advantage on the side of Checkmate the longer the fight goes, but I don't think Blackout, based off what I've seen, wants to let that fight go long anyway. Oh
yeah,
no,
but
Cupid's
the
gonna get caught out here.
Ramatra of Blackout is in a weird situation right now. The rotation from Checkmate so clean, sets up Pickle really well. Here comes the Kitsune rush that was built up. Strider still with that high noon. However, Cupid's going to be the first to pop it, but Nar's going to be the first one to go down. Wizards beats good for 4. Here comes the high noon from Strider getting that movement buff. The attack was good. Shoreline executed. Pickle does get Sky J, however, Strider gets Cupid, and looks like we're going in extra rounds here.
Yeah, and that was just a great play from Pickle, and that's exactly what you need to get your team back into it. He dropped off the high ground to try to bait the high noon out of Cupid and then put his hands up right as Cupid was shooting to basically not die to it. Cupid thought he had a free kill, and in Cupid's defense, if you got that kill, probably would have been a fight-changing ultimate, but Pickle with the heads-up play to stay alive and did not let it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this. Checkmate's DPS came alive when it mattered. Sure, you got to OT. Sure, you only got a minute left. But now, you got to start feeling yourself after that one. You brought it back.
Yep, you brought it back, and you made last-minute swaps to do it. You figured out what works. Figured that we're probably going to see more of that. Checkmate's on defense, and we're seeing the Symmetra. No, they're on attack first. Sorry. Okay. I lied. They had less time. So probably Sim TP to maybe get them set up in a different position. Blackout just choosing to run the Soj over the Tracer here. I'm in support of that. Could also run the Ashe on defense. I'm not sure why they're not. But you probably still want to have some aspect of Brawl. So you want to have that Soj in the back pocket. Reese Cup coming out on the Lucio. Outside of the Ajax, you got to brush that one off. You're not doing terribly. This is a new round, new set of chances. Who knows what could happen, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. As the Lucio player for my team, you know, you're going to Ajax once or twice, but it's about how you pick yourself up and get back at it. Talking about which, we've seen basically the same thing, but we see Strider here on the sim comp. You got to be real talkative about your team, not have the delay. Talking about which they are. The teleport is good. Shoreline in a dangerous situation. Forces everyone else, but talking about dangerous situation, Pickle goes down, and that's a big pick, you know, 33 seconds left on the board. Shoreline does find Reese Club. This could be the end of it if we're not careful. Checkmate.
I don't think we should be sticking to the sim. Somehow there was a miscommunication between Checkmate. I think if you're Checkmate, you just need Strider on a hit scan so he can make an impact and fast, because Nar's already halfway to the Hanzo, but instead we're going to see Ghostly come out on the Echo. I don't understand.
They're really committing to getting this high ground and talking about which Ghostly does find Nar with some brilliant stickies here. But Strider is ramping up that beam is full. That is a deadly weapon. Wizard going down super low. However, forced to back up here.
Ghostly making me eat my words. Getting an early kill on the Hanzo here.
Yeah, absolutely. Shoreline in a dangerous situation. Look at how many beams are going into that. Talking about which Wizard getting found out by Pickle here. That's your momentum gone. So Sim can probably just walk here. Coming out, here comes the dragons from Nar. No one touches.
Yeah, that was just a well placed dragon. I had a feeling that Blackout knew that was their win con, so they were okay with Wizard dying, and they just played that corner, waited for him to get to that 100%. And I mean, there's nothing you can do once that the new updated Hanzo ult just moves so fast, and it's an OT, so you got to get off the point. So I mean, it's not it was like a forced C9. I can't call that a C9, but I mean,
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. There's so many potential areas to touch that, and with
you
Ramattra,
think it was a C9?
I think it's a C9 here. That you, you had all 5 people alive. Sure the dragons do damage, but it wasn't that good. It wasn't that great of
Yeah.
placement. But I mean, a forced error is a forced error. The golden box of victory is now within sight for Blackout, and they have a minute 35 to get there.
And I'm sighing because we're doing it again. We're running the Ana Zen again, even though we've had more success as a team into Nar with the Lucio Kiriko. And it just feels like Checkmate. You have great ideas, but it feels like they're consistently forcing themselves into really bad corners, Alex.
Yeah, really bad corners indeed. We talked about this, with this Kiri Lucio backline. On a Zen, you can't rotate that fast, so you're really hoping this DPS line is going to come alive and explode the targets that need it, or put the pressure down onto Shoreline to make sure that momentum isn't going forward.
But I mean, if Nar, it already happened, and this is the issue with the comp that Checkmate's running.
You almost spoke it into existence. Nar was one step ahead of you, however. Now, if I was Pickle, I'd start backing up. However, Cupid finds Trico. Pickle down as well. Ghostly does find the pick-off here, but it's looking tragic for Checkmate right now on the circuit.
There is not a lifeline. We're going to see Trico swap over to the Lucio. I wouldn't be surprised if Reese went over to the Kiriko to try to get a touch. Pickle is on that ball. But I mean, Cupid coming back on the Tracer, and Nar almost has the Hanzo ult again, and there's still another fight for Blackout if they lose it. But Nar's probably going to get another pick. Stay on Nar.
We're just going to see contesting here. Pickle going down super low, movement abilities, and they just C9'd again.
C9. That's rough. That's a rough way to win that map. You come out, you get a decent hold, you bring it all the way back, you made it super competitive, and then you shoot yourself in the foot out back where no one can see you. Just super hard. It's difficult. How do you come back from that? Also, yes, I did want to mention we are going to take a little bit of a break in just a moment, but we could talk about this first. I mean, because it looked like Checkmate swung the momentum in their favor.
Yeah, it looked like it, but you're absolutely right. You don't shoot. You went out back and shot yourself not once, but twice with 2 C9s, and then you run back that comp that we were talking about. As soon as Nar got that first pick, I think it was all over.
Yeah, I mean, the momentum just completely swung in the favor of Checkmate. Of Blackout once again. Nar just coming alive and proving why he is such a valuable DPS player to the line of Blackout. So very good team. We're seeing a 2-0 right now for Checkmate. We are going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be back in about 5 minutes or so. You won't want to go anywhere. And we'll probably be back sooner to talk about it. Give Checkmate some time to recuperate so this reverse sweep can start, or maybe get Blackout more time to cook up in the lab so they can end this and go on to play Solar next in the next couple of days. Grab a snack, grab a drink. You won't want to miss it on the other side. Glad he's muted.
Are we still good? Hello and welcome back to the Summer Showdown Checkmate versus Blackout. We're on match point here. But before we go any further, let's talk about what we just saw in Circuit Royale.
I, I, I don't know what we saw. I don't know what we saw, to be honest with you. Actually, I do know what we saw. We saw an incredible attempt from Checkmate. They brought it back all the way to tie it 3-3, even though it felt like the momentum wasn't in their favor. And then we saw two C9s back to back. That's got to be rough.
Yeah, absolutely. I was telling you in this production here, glad to see Pickles 2C9s, but I know what else I'm glad to see? I'm glad to see Nara lighting up this kill feed on this Hanzo.
Yeah. In fact, the C9 pickle is not just a pickle of legend. It is live and active still as a funny joke here and there. But it did happen, and Nar absolutely growing crazy on that Hanzo. I mean, I just love how flexible this Blackout Eclipse DPS line is. If you want to dive, you get Cupid Leo in there. If you want to poke, you get Cupid Nar. If you want to run the Genji Tracer, you get maybe Nar Leo. I mean, they just have an answer for everything. And I feel like if you're Checkmate again, you got to stop overthinking things. You ban the Juno when you don't have a Lucio player in that's not comfortable. You got to anticipate that Blackout's going to exploit that, and they're going to run the Lucio as well. You got to have an answer for it. You'd mentioned they banned the Juno to try to slow the game down. It wasn't slowed down at all. I felt like Blackout was just going nuts in terms of like speed and pacing.
Yeah, absolutely. Blackout not slowing down. We're getting just in. Checkmate. Gonna choose the ban instead of the map. Last two maps, Nepal and Circuit, have been there. So what do you think they're gonna do with this ban?
They're gonna ram bam probably. They're gonna ban the ram. We're gonna be going to flashpoint. They're gonna want to play the ball. They're basically gonna do what the other teams didn't do to them. And we just did get map confirmation. We're going to Atlas. So now the first band's gonna go over to Checkmate, and we're gonna have to see what they do. I'm curious about this because if you want to run, a Junker Queen, you want to go to Suravasa, and I feel like Shoreline's got that in his arsenal, right? So
Mhm.
I feel like Atlas is probably one of the better flashpoint maps for the ball.
Definitely doable here, but Atlas has these tight corridors of on street spaces and sometimes in the sorry, I'm having a stroke. Yeah, but Atlas having these very tight corners, gonna be hard for Ball to really get that momentum going back and forth here. So I can't see this first ban gonna be a ball. Gonna be probably a ram, maybe a horse, maybe try to set that up a little bit better. But it's gonna be a rough map for Checkmate if they do want to play that ball.
Yeah, so maybe it is a good map pick from Blackout to try to go to the Atlas. I think Suravasa is probably one of the better ball maps in terms of Flashpoint as well. So I could be wrong there. Flashpoint's not my expertise, but maybe you want to run the Hazard. Hazard is run frequently on Atlas. And there we go. Those bans were so fast. Okay, so we got the Ram ban, just like we were expecting. Guy J, for Blackout, immediately says, we ban the Venture. They ban the Venture. And I think I know why they're wanting to ban the Venture. Know my name, Jeff. Typically, he runs the Venture. Take him out of the game. We're going to see another substitution on the side of Blackout. We're getting Leo back in for Nar. And I think I know why.
Yeah, it makes sense. If Nar's your Hanzo specialist, you're not gonna really run him on this map. It's very close quarters. So makes sense, but let's talk about that venture. We're going to see a lot of disruption in the back line here with the burrow, a lot of survivability on it too, as well. But also, play it with the horse. You can play it with the queen if you so want.
Yeah, I agree. Venture's a really good hero. In on a lot of the niche comps, you can do a lot of things with Venture. Know my name, Jeff, traditionally known for a lot of his Venture play. I'm very curious if Naughty Use just wasn't available tonight. Because I haven't seen him, gone in yet. We've seen Ghostly, we've seen No My Name Jeff, we've seen Strider, but no Not a Use. And Tracer is available. If Not a Use is in the lobby, I don't know. I'm not there. Maybe he could go in. Is Not a Use in the lobby, Alex, or is he
As a
just sitting
person
there?
in the lobby, not to use, he is not found. Someone put a missing child's poster out for him. He is not in this lobby, and maybe that's what his team needed.
Yeah, Not a Use typically their Tracer player. Unfortunately, maybe couldn't make it here because of schedule issues. But they do have ghosts. They do have they do have amazing DPS players. Hopefully, this break gave them the time they needed to get back into this game. Checkmate has excellent coaches that have done a really good job with them with a lot of things. So I just if you're Checkmate, you just need a momentum sweep. You need a mental break to just get back in here, do your thing, and just go nuts. I mean, you gotta go nuts. It's do or die. If you lose this, you're going home. It's over, and Blackout gets to move on, and they get to brag on a 3-0 win over the tournament favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. You're hearing a lot of steam from Checkmate, going into this. Everyone was like, Checkmate, very talented team, going out first in a 3-0 fashion. You got to start looking at that roster then and being like, what works, what doesn't. But we're seeing ours from both teams, so that's enough talk. We're heading in to Atlas, match point for Blackout.
Yes, the talk is over here. It's gonna be do or die. I imagine if you're Checkmate, you got all the pressure, and Blackout, I mean, probably feeling a little pressure free. This is an interesting composition we're seeing. We got No My Name Jeff back in for Blackout Eclipse. Trico not in. We brought Parasite in for him. Reese Cub probably looking to play that flex support Parasite. They're Lucio player typically. I think we're going to see an interesting composition here because I saw a couple heroes hovered before they assembled. Maybe they were just trolling. Maybe they weren't. Definitely at the very minimum, I at least expect a ball.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw Pickle hovering that ball.
Orb 1v1 for point? I think they should do that. Oh,
I'm trying to spice it up a little bit, but it doesn't look like we're going to get it. We're going to see a standard rush comp coming out for Checkmate. We see the Queen, followed with the Bap Lucio, Cupid onto the Tracer, and Leopard probably going to jump onto that Mei.
Or Genji maybe? This is interesting.
Or Genji.
This is weird. I don't know if I like the Tracer with the Mei. Have some thoughts about this. I definitely like Checkmate. Oh wait, the sides aren't flopped. Why did Blackout do that? Okay, Blackout is blue and Checkmate is red right now. I don't know why they did that, but gonna see the standard Queen comp. So I feel like the Queen comp on this side of Checkmate is definitely a lot better than Blackout. However, I just don't like the BAP into Queen.
Yeah, absolutely. BAP is going to be the big question mark here. As soon as Queen can get on top of it, BAP's going to have a struggle fest. Doesn't have that mobility. Not yet, that is, because of that. Talking about a beautiful wall by the Leopard. Going to put a lot of pressure onto Pickle. However, seems very healthy. Gets that lifesteal. Shoreline with a big swing here. Pickle going down, but both these teams very healthy. Queen with a big sustained BAP. Also, key aspect of this, you would love to see Blackout's Genji take a different angle on, try to get that, talking about which the Baptiste of SkyJ going down low, the Immortality Force, No My Name Jeff finds their way into that backline and takes out the sustain, followed by the Mei here. Shoreline going down, Blackout looks like they're going to get the first point.
And if you're looking to brawl here with the screen, I would much rather see a Kiriko with a Genji in the Tracer. Or at the very least, maybe you go Soj, so that way you can, just brawl and sustain more. But if you're Checkmate, your job is easy here. You just run on the Bat Force Emor and then blow him up because Kiriko has infinitely more mobility than the Baptiste does in terms of getting out and getting away. I think the strategy on the side of Blackout is just to build wall as quick as you can because he's at 90%. But that's the big deal.
Absolutely. Another thing about the Baptiste is it doesn't have any cleanse for that Rampage, and we see Pickle just use the Rampage, and that's all she wrote. Blackout doesn't use anything.
Yeah, I think your win con of your Blackout is you got to have the beat for the Queen ult. But the issue there is what do you use beat for? Do you use it for the blade or do you use it for the Queen ult? You only get one. So you much prefer to rather have that Suzy for the Queen ult rather than to rely on the beat. But Blackout stubborn in their ways right now, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the point do flip by Checkmate. However, this does open it up. Talking about which Strider pops the high noon, gonna walk. Let's see if they're getting a May ult is thrown down, not catching anyone. The beat is good by Parasite. Finds the Leopard. However, Cupid does throw that pulse bomb onto Strider. SkyJ finds Pickle.
I think Blackout's going to clean this up, but it looks like Checkmate doesn't want to give this up. The support line coming alive for Checkmate right now.
Yeah, absolutely. However, Queen's very survivable. You know, building this percentage, 50%, looks like Queen of Shoreline is going to go down eventually, giving Blackout the point back.
Yeah, so we are having more connection issues. We are going to get another pause in the chat. It looks like Cupid is having some ping issues, but we are going to see some crucial swaps. SkyJ going over to the Kiriko, much better. I really think Cupid needs to get off this Tracer. I mean, who are you diving? You know, it just feels everyone's going in the same direction. So I don't feel like we need the Cupid on the Tracer right now. Much rather have him on the Soch or even the Cass, something along those lines. But now you have more sustainable answers for the offensive ultimates that Checkmate's looking to run. But it looks like they should get away with this point. It's 86 to 62% right now, and Shoreline just died and is about halfway from coming back from spawn right now. So I can't imagine they're gonna touch, but we'll have to see.
I don't imagine in a world we're touching here, but I like some of this adaptation by Checkmate. You know, SkyJ finally getting off that Baptiste, figuring out that Kiriko, that's going to be the condition you need. That's going to be the support. That's going to be the best for this comp. I still do want Leopard to get off this May. I am not a fan of it right now. Checkmate is just out-tempoing you, and, you know, May just kind of going to run over there. Cooldowns forced.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I definitely think we'd much rather see like a Genji or something come out of Leo here. Maybe a Genji cast would be a good. Maybe just mirror them and do it. You know, do it better. You know, if you believe in your DPS, just run it down. We do see the R's coming in, so we are going back in. But I think Blackout's probably gonna get this first point. Sorry, Checkmate. Jeez.
Don't worry, I've been doing the same thing the entire fight. So in chat, that is Checkmate's point here.
A good start from them. We did see the swaps coming in. We are going to mirror it. They are deciding just to run it better. I am in support of it, but now you're kind of behind on ult economy. You got to look to try to get some sort of pick and just slow down this play from Checkmate because they are feeling themselves. Cupid's already low.
Talking about which a beautiful beat by Wizard gets Strider. However, we got to watch out for this blade from No My Name Jeff here. Coming through, just slashing onto the Queen. Maybe that's not the best target. And Wizard finds another boop. That's going to be 2 for him. 3! Will Wizard get the 4K here? He's looking like it. Gets it. Shoreline robs him of the 5K, but you'll take that if you're Blackout as you're getting the first foot into the door.
And you needed that fight because you needed to catch up in ult economy, and that's exactly what was able to occur. Pickle still going to be a little ahead than Shoreline, as he is a little bit behind, but Wizard not too far behind on that beat now. SkyJ leading in that Kitsune rush. Cupid matching with Strider right now, so that was a huge play. I mean, hero plays are made by talented players. Let's see if they can keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see a wide rotation by Checkmate here. Really not accomplishing too much so far. However, does force the Kiri to TP out. Parasite going down low. Another beat by Wizard. Pickled is found out by SkyJ. However, Wizard builds that beat in record time, throws it out. It is good. Wizard eventually find out by Strider, and the Rampage by Pickle is good. Does a lot of anti-heal. Reese does find Cupid here. However, this Queen can sustain for quite a while, and it looks like Leopard goes down 86% by Blackout. Checkmate.
Yes.
Now to start building it.
Not a huge fan of that beat. We used that beat to match what Parasite was doing. However, you got to know they have Queen ult, and your Kiriko just died, so there's no Suzu on the board. So huge head-up play by Pickle to use that ultimate after knowing both support abilities were down. It's going to come down to these DPS ults this fight and who can get more done. But Reese coming up on the Kitsune rush. You have to imagine they're going to want to pull the trigger.
Yeah, absolutely. The earlier you pull the trigger, the more that SkyJ cannot respond to this. Now, you're right, Shoreline, SkyJ all have their ults. Know My Name, Jeff finding Cupid in the trades. Talking about Wizard found out as well. High Noon is popped. You gotta question that for Strider as Skyjay goes down. Not too much room there. Parasite does find Shoreline. And it looks like
that was a great chase. That was a great chase on the side of Checkmate. Able to go get those kills. It's going to be a rough touch on the side of Blackout. They're going to have to look to try to touch without Leo, but they do have an ultimate advantage because you're right. Strider did use that ultimate, but an early pull could. Oh, but Pickle is really low.
Yeah, Pickle basically won at this point. Talking about which, here comes the Kitsune Arc. No one named Jeff does take the head off Skyjay. High Noon popped by Cupid, not finding any value on that. Talking about which Cupid under a lot of pressure. Since you're down that Kiriko, a lot of healing, a lot of sustain is good. However, Shoreline finds one with the anti here. Parasite is found out, finds the Genji here. Finds Shoreline as well. It looks like it is Wizard and Skyjay left, and Checkmate gonna go up 2-0 here. Going to the final point, maybe.
Yeah, and you know we mentioned it early on that it felt like Checkmate was kind of shooting themselves in the foot with a lot of their mistakes. Blackout looking to make a lot of mistakes with their ult usage and just the team play. We're going to see some swabs come out. Shoreline giving Pickle the nod in terms of the duel, admitting that he probably can't keep up right now. Swapping to that Orisa and Cupid over to the Soj. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think the cast is, just fine. But we know what he can do on the Soj one, so we'll have to see what he gets done.
Yeah, absolutely. This Orisa's big with displacement. You got that spear spin, you got the spear. Talking about which we see the rotation. It is good. It is clean right now. Pickle going deep, trying to find that support line. Know my name, Jeff getting that slash. Cupid down low. Super Skyjay does get the rampage, however, only gets one. Cupid getting pressured out by two people. Parasite does find a Reese Cup, finds the Genji Strider, the horse. And right now, Checkmate looking clean on Atlas.
Yes, it looks like that halftime did wonders. I can't imagine that Blackout was still, maybe they weren't locked in during that halftime. Maybe they weren't as focused as they could have been. Because right now you are slipping out of this game. You need to find an answer and you need to bring it back. But right now, Checkmate, like you said, they're looking clean. They're doing all the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing rotation over by Blackout here. Orisa taking a lot of damage. However, the backline is now exposed. Wizard pops the beat here. It is good for 5. We see fights devolving in 3 different directions. Wizard eventually comes back, however, is put down by Pickle. We see the Kitsune rush by Reese Club. Really wants to clean this up nicely here. However, everyone on Blackout super low. Talking about with 2 go down. Cupid, Skyjin are out of the fight here. Genji and the Orisa is 78% and counting for Blackout. We're looking close to the final fight.
He might be able to get a good touch here, but coming up on a lot of ultimates on the side of Blackout. But I mean, it just feels like everything is rushed, and I don't even know if Wizard's going to be able to get a touch. He's not going to get it. That's the map.
He did not hit that rollout.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know where that Checkmate was on map 1 when it was rush v rush, but yeah, that was explosive. That worked. Strider got into his groove. He was hitting his shots. Pickle looking pretty good on the Queen here. And it just seemed like Checkmate didn't have the answers. I actually prefer the Queen a lot on this map because there's more rotational angles and it gives you more time to adapt and make adjustments. The Orisa has to kind of play with her team, but you can't really do that when you're, struggling versus the DPS trades. I mean, we went Sojourn probably for more mobility and we just didn't really get it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a win if you're Checkmate. That's going to go a long way. You came back from that break. You refreshed your mentals. You got that win. Sure, you got to win 2 more maps. This is going to be a long reverse sweep if they're going to make it, but this is a great first step towards it.
I would have to agree. For the first time this evening, because Blackout didn't even win the coin flip, they get their choice of map or ban. We are going to hybrid, so they're going to pick the King's Row, and I have to agree that is probably the best pick here. So Checkmate, going to get that first ban. And we're going to have to see what they do with it. This is definitely a good RAM map. So, Blackout, good choice there.
Yeah, absolutely. Choice. Great RAM ban. RAM cannot be banned anymore here. And there's a lot of characters that complement it that's already been banned. You have that Widow. You have the Tracer. You Juno, Venture, These are a lot of characters that you can combine with this RAM. And, we've seen Blackout, and they really like this RAM.
Yeah, that they live and die by that Ram ban. The good thing for them though is in a best of three series, you can only ban the Ram once, so it works out better for them that that Ram ban only comes out once. We are coming to Kings Row here in just a moment. We're banning the May, and I have to imagine we're gonna see another Gnar appearance. I
Really,
think so. Yeah, with the Hanzo on Kings Row, you can run the Hanzo. You can swap to the Genji if you needed. I think it's possible.
haven't seen too much Nar Genji, but let's
It's
talk
good.
about
It's
that.
just as good as Leo's.
I'll hold you to it. We do see the May ban come out here. Just wait for the
Ban on the side of Blackout. May
thank you.
ban. I'm in support of that. You don't want to play against it. Tight corridors. Um, they are pleading right now with Blackout to ban the Ramatra, but it's not going to happen. Ghost sending whatever that is, a hypnosis thing. They're saying you want to ban the Ram so bad. Is this match fixing, Alex? I don't know.
You know, it's not because this is just basic rule book read. You can't ban the same character. So I have confidence that everyone in this lobby is somewhat literate, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, we do it like OWCS style. So I mean, since Blackout didn't ban the Ram, they could. Um, they could ban the Ram if they'd like to.
Oh, true.
This is interesting. We're banning the Hazard since they can't ban the Orisa again. I guess that makes sense.
You know, Hazard does have that block in the armor, so it's still affected by the bug. And it's very playable here, you know. Hazard's like a pseudo brawl dive, able to jump, cut off corners with the wall, so still a very strong one. I think we saw Rat Milkers and a few other teams run the Hazard on this to great success.
Yes, we are going to see that substitution that I was anticipating. We're going to get Gnar for Leo Leopard. It is important. Checkmate is going to get to pick the side of attack or defense on whether they want. I have to imagine they're feeling the momentum, and as I say that, they're going on the defense. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
not quite sure. Maybe you just want to make a statement, hold them here. But
Yeah, I mean
particularly,
it makes sense.
it does. But if you're attacking, you know, obviously you can set the pace, you can set the goal where you want it. You know, if you get it this far, you know what you're playing for
Right,
on defense.
exactly. Exactly. I agree. I'm always an attack first kind of person. That's just the mentality that I'm in. Both teams are currently ready. We are just waiting for spectators to be swapped around at the moment. Once those are, we should be going in. And I'm just glad that it wasn't a 3-0 fall over by Checkmate. You were able to get some momentum and come in and dominate on Atlas. I just can't help but feel Checkmate had an amazing map. Pickle looked electric on that Junker Queen. Strider was hitting everything for what he was worth. And Reese Cub on that Kiriko just felt very, game changing. But it just felt like they were too stubborn to swap at the beginning. They waited a little too long, and they just couldn't find their footing afterwards. That being said, it is 2-1, so it is still match point on the side of Blackout. They win this map, it is over. Blackout is going to attack first as we go into King's Row, and we should be seeing the compositions unlock in about 20 seconds here.
Yeah, absolutely. For the spectators, the name still switched around. Checkmate is in the blue, Blackout in the black, or
Blackout in the black.
blackout in the black, blackout in the red.
Blackout got shot out back, and now they're black. This is an interesting defense. They are sticking to the queen. They feel like they've caught fire. Um, you know, I could see it working. I don't know about defense, but I could definitely see it working on attack. I feel like if you're shoreline, you're just gonna wait for shot to come out, and then you slow it, you back up, and then you walk in with punch. I feel like that's the game
Yeah,
plan there.
Queen on defense, especially in the big 2025, she's not as strong as when she first released. Because when she first released, remember everyone that was Junker Queen, Goats comp. You know, she was basically played everywhere. defense, it's very situational. Like you said, it's very how can you hold your cooldowns, how you doing your rotations, and it's a difficult execute to ask, especially at this level.
It is. We're going to see if Cupid can get an early pick. Doesn't look like he's going to. He's going to go ahead and make the swap, probably over to the Soja after that. The frame.
Yeah, talk about which.
Oh my god.
Strider gets a great dynamite, but Gnar finds the kill where it matters. Pickle super low right now. Parasite in a dangerous situation as Shoreline's going to whiff his shots. However, Cupid is not going to whiff that explosive bolo. Puts him down. Pickle still in this hotel room. Gnar eventually puts another one on the board here. As Reese Cub.
Yeah, as Reese Cub looking to try to get out. Got a couple headshots on the Cupid, got him low there. We're running the double, I don't know, Archer? This is a composition I haven't seen too often, Alex.
Yeah, this is not a standard composition. You would play Freya more as the hit skin, and obviously Hanzo, that one-shot potential, just the projectile. Flex DPS. A lot of damage both these characters can do, and you see that as Pickle's armor onto the Orisa as they made the swap would basically shoot through. However, because of the sustain, able to keep himself in the fight.
Yeah, able to keep himself in the fight, and Orisa not too bad into that ram at all, not in the slightest. Got a lot of mobility and abilities to just live if you need to, but the Ramatra, 85% armor reduction, it's hard to deny that.
Yeah, absolutely. You fix the text chat, but you can't fix this armor bug. You gotta start putting question marks in the chat there. But talking about which this setup, Strider does fall down, unfortunately not getting this high ground in a dangerous situation to be collapsed in on. However, Parasite does have that boop here, but Pickle does not have
Strider. They just let him sit back there.
They do let him sit back there. Cupid does find Parasite. No, my name Jess does find SkyJ as Strider is eventually found out. Pickle does get Cupid. However, the trades right now going in favor of Checkmate, Blackout. I got tripped up myself here. Is support via support. Gnar eventually comes back, puts some arrows into the horse here. Reese Cub found out next, and it looks like Blackout's going to get some good progress here on straights.
Yes, good progress indeed, and you love to see it. Able to slow it down just a little bit. Well, not slow it down, but keeping the pace up from Checkmate. Even though you lose that fight, very interesting that Strider rotated all the way around. Nobody checked for him. He just got to sit back there and get some shots off. But Blackout coming up on 5 ultimates here. Checkmate not coming up on a lot themselves. Gonna have to see how they respond. Maybe Gnar could force another C9 in the big 2-5.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the first ult being used. SkyJ with the Kitsune Rush here. Gnar does find Parasite. Throws the dragon into this confined space where a fight was happening. Pickle going down. Reese Strider also falling. Checkmate. It's getting kind of scary as we're heading into this. 4 minutes, almost 5, to get third.
And they still have 3 ultimates. Checkmate does have some answers to respond to their ultimates as well. You've got the beat for the Ramatra ult. You've got a blade of your own. We're going to the Alari and the Pharah. We're just trying to throw curveballs, maybe punish the fact that they're not running a hit scan. I can get behind it, but it doesn't matter when you just get picked off.
Yeah, talking about getting picked off, Strider puts his team on the back and says, I'll get 2, don't worry guys. Pickle finding SkyJ here, and a scary situation has been stopped just right now. Checkmate finally gets a good hold.
Yeah, they slow down the momentum, but they did lose a lot of their ultimates that fight. I'm not sure why we beat it there, because now Annihilation's coming out for free. Maybe we see some swaps here as we're getting sped back. Maybe that's the case. Strider wanting to put the game in his hands, wanting to get some picks. Gonna have to see if Blackout can shut him down.
Yeah, absolutely. We know Strider been electric, but it doesn't matter when Cupid shoots an arrow through the heart here. Here comes the Terror Surge, not finding too much damage to the feet. In response by Wizard, trying to get pushed off by the map with Pickle, who is not going to have any of that here. Going down, we have a Lucio Tracer 1v1. Wizard gets the best of it. Here, Strider does get Shoreline at the end of it. However, Cupid is putting Parasite down here. Strider's the only one left healthy on the side of Checkmate. We see a Mauga switch over by Pickle, gonna throw the stomp. The bolo shot is good, lands onto Pickle. A lot of damage. However, Reese Cup does find Gnar. Reese Cup finds J as well.
Yeah, Reese getting 2 and no one shooting the pylon. And Checkmate's gonna hold that. Pickle going over to the hog. Checkmate just trying to throw off the strategy of Blackout, which I can't say, I don't know if I'm a fan of it. I don't know if I'm not. I feel like the only team that's consistently run hog has been Death Blossoms with Jack, and they've seen decent success with it. But Strider getting another pick on Dinar, and it feels like Checkmate's starting to get a grasp on this hold here. Big Suzu.
Big Suzu, you didn't think, Cupid didn't think they was going to have it, so he flew away from his teammates. But yeah, that was an absolutely beautiful Suzu by SkyJ. But you're right, this hog is a very greedy pick, and you don't have a lot of sustain with the Illari. Here comes the Sunburst, good for 2, but the Kitsune Rush is also good. Shoreline, Nor finds Jeff here.
Oh, what a kill.
Parasite as well, so the Hanzo arrows are good. Cupid does find Strider here, and he's just rescubbed. Cupid finds another one. Will he find Pickle? Hanzo's ult is out. Shoreline gets Pickle here, and Blackout only has to deal with No My Name Jeff. Nar finds another pick on the way out. Cupid gets Jeff here. 1 minute 53 is the cap time.
But considering they almost had 5 minutes on the board, that's a good hold from Checkmate. You've got to win con, you got to finish with faster time, and we've seen it brought back on circuit. No C9 so far. You just got to hope that luck continues and that you focus on the point, Pickle. I do like a lot of the curveballs that they were throwing, trying to get Blackout off their game. And Blackout did seem to struggle against some of it, but ultimately getting their head back in the game, realizing that they're just trying to throw smoke screens, and they just, had to stay locked in on what their plan was.
Yeah, absolutely. The Illari pick, however, by I think it was Reese Cub, that was a very interesting pick. Wanted to greed without going to the Zen, still have that mobility towards you. Gotta ask, do you think you're gonna see that again?
Maybe. I think we're going to look for a dive defense here. I think Reese is either going to hover that Kiriko or maybe go the Brig. I actually think we're going to see maybe a spawn hold attempt here. Maybe. They're on... Wait. Checkmate's on attack, so they're not spawn holding. I have no clue what they're going to play because they're on attack, but I'd much rather talk about the comp that we can see. We had that double archer still. It's just a ton of It's just a ton of spam damage, Alex. I mean, that's all it is. You're getting spammed from Hanzo arrow. You're getting spammed from Cupid's arrow. I mean, they're just doing a lot. And then Shoreline, SkyJ, and Wizard are just coming up continuously time after time after time with this crazy brawl. We're going to see a bit of a dive here. Pickle on the ball. Going to have to see what he can get done.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's a comp that does break the double archery, it's the ball, it's the heavy dive that we do see by Checkmate come out. Pickle finally onto his signature ball. He is getting hunted down, however. Health. Parasite's in a difficult situation here. Half health that forces Recup TP, try to get that sustain onto him. Right now, Checkmate very separated. However, No My Name Jeff that's exactly what he needs as he finds Nar. Cupid does find Jeff in the back line, however, that's gonna Blackout to sustain. However, Cupid goes down. There is no DPS on the side of Blackout. Here is just a tank and 2 supports. Shoreline's going to hold his arms up, try to get as much down as possible. That was a beautiful Zuzu. Absolutely right about that. Going to give up, trying to get healthy here, but definitely has the end to retest this as everyone from Blackout is back. Here comes the ball slam onto Wizard here. Parasite in a difficult situation, got that vortex shut down, started Pickle. So we're gonna see sustain on these front lines.
Yeah, very crazy fight going, and SkyJ gonna be able to pick off, or get picked off rather, by Pickle. Checkmate just did an excellent job that fight of waiting out the cooldowns of Blackout and then taking multiple angles. We haven't really seen the ball a lot tonight. I think we only saw it a little bit once on map 1. And Blackout was able to kind of, outlive what Checkmate was trying to do. Just not able to do it there. Nar getting picked off early. If you're the Blackout's DPS, you're going to have to be disciplined in where you stand because that ball is going to check you. Also, something that's funny to note, Ghostly was typically the Freya player, but Strider and No My Name Jeff also flexing the DPS muscles a little bit, showing that they can flex around too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about that. Blackout needs to have their footing, needs to have their positioning excellent. But on this street phase, it gets harder for a ball. there's only so many places you can start aggressing from. However, if you do not check Jeff here, which is actually killed, Reese Club does find SkyJ. The beat not good to get them. Mines on the back of the field is going to cut off and going to put Gnar in a very interesting situation alongside Wizard. Here comes the Tsune Rush by Reese Club. Really wants to put Shoreline down, and it is good right now. Gnar. Pickle Cupid looks like it's going to be the next to go down here by the pressure of Pickle here. However, he's going to get out.
Yeah, really good separation from Pickle to get Shoreline off the other side. So it kind of negated SkyJ's Kitsune ult. But we do have a decent amount of ultimates coming up for both teams. Checkmate is going to have the advantage here, as Wizard did use Beat last fight, knowing they had a Genji, and choosing to not use it for the Blade. Cupid's going to lose that
and
duel.
Strider styles on Cupid, putting him down before Nara finds him with Storm Arrows here. Pickle in a dangerous situation, finally gets taken down. I think that's the first death here. However, Know My Name Jeff throws the blade out, not finding too much value here.
My
a lot of sustain by both the support line.
Yeah, I mean, decent blade. I like the idea of still trying to go in on that squishy, but the Suzu came in at just the right time. That allowed Gnar to get that beautiful headshot onto the dome of Know My Name Jeff. But as you said earlier, Strider flexing a little bit on this Freya. Cupid just needs to be more disciplined about the angles he takes. That being said, the ult advantage is now swinging in favor of Blackout here, as they're coming up on 3.
Yeah, Blackout with the ult. However, the Hanzo and the Freya, not very big ults. You can kind of cut away with that, as we see Dragons follow. More of a cooldown, you know. Sure, it's going to be deadly and stuck, but that's if, and has a very tight window. So I'm going to be focusing on this Annihilation. Talk about which the comes out. Could have hit 3, however, SkyJ again with a beautiful. The bow does hit Pickle there. It's going to make this hinder effect go on to it. Annihilation comes out, finds Jeff. Gnar is right now battling Strider. SkyJ, however, comes in for the cleanup. Gnar does Parasite in the back end of that. Shoreline finding Reese Club. Pickle still on the point. Is going to fall back here as to regroup.
Yeah, and we are very even across the board when it comes to support ultimates. We're going to have that Kitsune Rush for Blackout over Checkmate's Kitsune Rush, but they do have the beat advantage over Blackout, so we're going to have to see how that is used. Pickle going to look to try to disrupt with the mine as we come into this next fight. Going to have to see what they do and see if they can separate them here. And if you're Shoreline, you need to not get split from your backline.
Yeah, absolutely. However, SkyJ going down super low. Pickle good finding. Here comes the mines, definitely big separation, and Gnar, you're not supposed to touch those. Jeff finds Cupid, there is no DPS left inside of Blackout, however, Wizard does get Pickle here. So Checkmate without a tank. Talk about which Shoreline in danger. Beat comes out good for 3 for both Lucios here. Both teams really committing to this fight here. Pickle is finally back. That's going to force SkyJ out here. Shoreline goes down to the pressure that he was facing.
I mean, I don't imagine Blackout's going to look to touch, especially down to the tank. You do trade ultimates and you do get some out, but Checkmate, I think, won that exchange because Reese got to hold on to her Kitsune Rush, and Jeff is almost coming up on his ultimate as well as Strider's. The only, good thing that you have going for you is, oh my gosh, people don't die. Okay, the only thing that you got going for you is that you're going to have guaranteed more time on the bank when you go to OT. If you go to OT, hopefully they stop.
If you go to OT, that's the big thing. But talking about which, I'm saying Streets are going to be hard for the ball. This is going to be, as we see Shoreline getting access to that back line, finding Parasite. Pickle, however, does find the slam and kill onto Weenie Wizard. However, Cupid does get Pickle here.
Yeah, that was a good way to, you get a couple picks, you get to you get to follow up. I just Wizard's name, man. It's too late to call him anything else but his username. But Checkmate, still coming up on those ultimates. But Blackout, because of that fight, you did get to catch up on some crucial ultimates. That beat though is going to be big, and Reese Club wants to go now.
Yeah, absolutely. Reese Club, let's go ahead. Jeff also looking for the execution on side of Cupid, does not find it. There is a Sombra on the field here. Here comes the Dragon Strike. And it is good for Reese Club. That's the first kill we've seen it get here. Shoreline can step up kind of freely, but has to be careful. Pops the emergency I need help button. And did Jeff just pop the blade?
Oh no, Checkmate. You were in such a good position. but now you're falling out of it. We're running more of a dive with this Somber pick, and I don't know if I'm a fan versus the Ramattra. There's just too much sustain to keep him up, but Jeff, in the final hour, just you gotta get that blade back. And now Blackout Eclipse are in such a huge position to win this series and finish strong.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only 30 seconds left,
Oh.
and that's not the pick you want if you're a Checkmate fan. SkyJ finds Parasite in the back end here. That was one of the closer ults that they had here.
Yeah, one of the closer ults, and it looks like Shadow's gonna get found.
As well.
Yeah, I mean, probably Pickle gonna put his minds on the point, but they feel like just an afterthought at this point. Yeah, create some separation, but who needs separation when you're down 2? As I say that though, Pickle coming in and getting an excellent kill on the SkyJ. This fight still might be winnable without the sustain of that Kiriko healing. Shoreline's
Oh, we
lost.
see an Ajax here. Parasite throws the beat, however, down. Cupid finds Pickle at the end of it here. Jeff on 1 HP, trying to help him here. Reach Club with Strider. Strider does find Cupid here. Gnar trying to find a shit off. Reese Club finds Gnar, however, this is very fletching. Talking about which Skyjet, never mind. Blackout has
SkyJ!
Parasite gets the touch, he does. GG is called by a ghost, however, it is not over quite yet, my boy. Pickle is on the Doomfist now.
It could have been a crucial error to not bring your team. This is still very much anyone's game at this point. I haven't seen any kills come out on the side
talking about
yet.
which no,
Pickle, no!
Parasite dies. Blackout wins this series 3-1 off a tragic C9.
3 C9s for a 3-1 victory for Blackout. And that was such a winnable game, but in the end, the adaptations and the DPS play for Blackout Eclipse, I feel like was the difference maker. I don't feel like we talked about Shoreline a lot this series, but I mean, he was electric all game, whether it was on the RAM or off the RAM. Checkmate, coming out of this series, coming out of this tournament, going home, it has to feel rough, but they did have an excellent showing. Blackout with the upset, gonna go on to play Solar later this week, their sister team, for a chance at that grand final spot. And you have to imagine with a win like this, they might be feeling on top of the world, Alex.
That was a statement win, you know. That's our 6th place team versus knocking out the 3rd place team here. And, you know, they knocked it out easily. Sure, they had a hiccup on Atlas, but the rest of these maps looked all Blackout.
Yeah, indeed. That being said, we are going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to get into the minds of Blackout and the DPS who did so well together. We've got a double interview with Cupid and Gnar on the way here just a moment, so you won't want to miss this. We'll see you on the other side of a quick, brief break. Hopefully Cloud lets us know when we're off.
Welcome back to the Eclipse Gaming Summer Showdown. In case you missed it, we just had an electrifying game, Blackout versus Checkmate, 3-1. We unfortunately didn't discuss player of the match. Me and Bert took some discussing, and we discussed Wizard as player of the match. This guy on the Lucio, game changing.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a Lucio get so many 3Ks in my life. And it wasn't even like he was just, being a Reddit Lucio. He was still supporting his team, getting his tanks in there, helping his DPS live, getting beats off when they needed it. He was just, electric is the great word to use it. I mean, I just felt like he was always adding something to the fight and being so insanely impactful. So I couldn't, I mean, it felt like everyone on Blackout could have earned this player of the game tonight. Nar, Cupid, Shoreline, Skyjay, they all had their moments, but consistently, and Leo as well, but consistently throughout all of the maps, it just felt like Wizard was just always there and knew what to do.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. But talking about the winning formula and adding things to it, we do have Nar and Cupid for our player interviews. How we doing, boys?
Yo,
Very much good.
That's great. So going into this sixth place team, how do you feel after beating the third place?
Electric.
um,
Like,
not surprised. You know, we already beat them before. I knew we were gonna win again. So,
Mhm.
I don't know, it just felt like a free game, not gonna lie.
Love the confidence coming out from you two. Well, you guys are a part of one of the greatest, probably most flexible DPS lines in this bracket. I do have to ask a direct question for Cupid. I see your username in Discord is quote C tier Cupid. There were a lot of tier lists that went out. Some had Nar and D tier, I think. Some had Cupid as low as C. How do you guys feel tonight after putting the early tournament favorite sent home packing? And how do you think, I mean, did you guys take those tier lists personally? How are you
oh
guys
yeah,
feeling?
absolutely, bro.
I mean,
Tool, never put me in C tier ever again. You better hope I don't play you.
uh, I think for me personally, uh, the tier list spots that I got were deserved. Cause I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if y'all saw, but I think I played a lot better tonight than any of the other games. Cause these are the games that actually matter. You know what I mean? I had to
Yeah.
come in actually using my real skill. You feel me?
Uh huh.
Yeah, that wasn't even me before. That was an AI. So it's like now they know. You know what I mean?
Now they know. Now
Now
they
they
know
know.
indeed. Alrighty, well, my last question for the both of you. Nar, the Hanzo. I mean, I asked Cupid, C tier, Cupid, I'm asking you. The Hanzo pick, it just felt like it was a huge difference maker, specifically on circuit. I mean, what is your secret to getting all of those headshots, man? It just like, I even think I had a moment during stream where I was like, I can't even analyze what's going on because Nar's just clicking heads. That's literally all that was happening.
So he presses his mouse thing, and he holds it until it can like one shot, and then he shoots.
Right,
And
right. Nar, how do you feel about that Hanzo pick?
Uh, just more arrows in the sky, more kills. Just like I see a group of people, like I just shoot into it and I just like do a little prayer to God.
Prayer to God diff, I suppose.
Like I really be hitting a headshot. I'm like, damn, I actually did that shit.
Well, that's all that I have for you two.
that's
Hey, I
it.
just want
That's
to
the
say,
part.
free Charmy. Shout out
Oh my
Shoreline.
gosh. No, we're not sending y'all off yet. Alex has one more question for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. With this dominant win, you're gonna face your sister team over here, Solar Eclipse. You guys got anything to say?
Shout out Locos. If you know,
I
you know.
mean, I just want to say, Solar Eclipse. I heard they were taking screenshots of our comps and all this kind of stuff, and they think they know everything. A bunch of nerds, you know what I mean? They think they know everything, but we got some stuff up our sleeves, so we're
Hmm.
ready for that game.
Ready for that game indeed. Well, we are going to let you guys go. If you do want to make any shout outs before we head off, you certainly can. And congratulations on the victory.
Yo, low key. Shout out Wiener. He
Mhm.
hasn't even been signed yet, and he's coming in and balling like freaking 2016 LeBron on the Cavs, bro.
Yeah, I want to shout out
Like-
the whole team. I couldn't do without them.
Yeah, that's true.
Love to hear it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We are going to send you off to go celebrate with your team. You do have a big matchup ahead of you. Winning it would send you to the grand finals for this tournament. So, congratulations to you both, and hope to see you in the winners column next time.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that is the end of our interview and the end of our first playoff game. Checkmate going home early. Blackout with the win, going on to play Solar later this week. We do have another game tomorrow. It's going to be that 4 and 5 seed playing Rat Milkers versus Cuddle Puddle, 8 p.m. Easterns. You will not want to miss it. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and we will see you next round. We'll see you tomorrow for another stream.
Bye bye.